All right, so let's, we've talked about the different categories, showed all the models on one slide. Now let's go individually into the families. And I want to start with the tower family because, again, I think this is an area that most of you will be focused in based on your customer base. And I know a lot of you, I was able to talk to several of Bass's customers during that barbecue event. And I know a lot of you guys actually build out these servers, right? I mean, it's one of you guys have the expertise to do that, and certainly that's it's a good strategy to follow. But as you grow and as your time as the owner of the business becomes more valuable, you've got to really start thinking about how much time am I investing in building out this server and managing it, testing it out, supporting it, versus what's my rate per hour as the owner as your business grows. Well, I think one of the areas that really benefits you guys is the fact that not only do we have these products available for you, we'll build them out for you. We'll also take over the responsibility of service and support if you so choose. So think of it that way. If you've been building out servers for a while and you enjoy doing it and it's been profitable for you, but as your time becomes more valuable, your rate per hour. This is something, this is one of the compelling reasons really to look at partnering with Bass and looking at the Acer computers out there. So from a tower perspective, best cost per performance and our flexibility. So we have really two categories, the AT100 and the AT300. As you can see there on the slide, there's the different things. These are really a good fit in the SMB space. You need centralized manageability and standard expandability options. The 110, again, is something that we've sold very well and successfully with Bass. And as you can see, you can move up the different lines. Another thing I'll point out to help you with the model number scheming, if you look at the bottom, the AT110, AT115, if there's a 5 at the end of the model number, that's an AMD-based processor in that server. And then the ones that end in 0 are Intel. So that's another little trick there to remember. But the different usage scenarios, you have maybe not, a business that has simple, just needs simple transactions. They have basic business software on there. Or you need to store email or file or print, things like that, host a web page, things like that. Those are, these were these products fit in. When we did the AT110 webinar, another thing that we pointed out was the fact that, why would you move up? And if you're using workstations today or using desktops, why would you move up into a low-end tower space? And one of the things that we talked about during those webinars was the fact that, the workstations are great, and if they meet your needs, that's fine. But if you're really running server applications and you need a server environment, you need a device that actually has server-based processors, right? So, the Intel processors, the AMD processors, those are geared toward working on server-style applications. So, if you have a customer that may be on the fence of, well, my workstation works great, why do I need to move up? Talk about the fact that these processors are designed to work on these type of environments, these server-type environments. So what I'm going to do now is, because we sold the 110 with Bass, and some of you on the phone may be familiar with it. The next two slides, I'm going to use this as a representative view of the tower servers. I mean, each tower server has different configurations, right? More expandability, for example, as you move up in the 300 space, more DIMM slots, more hard drive space, things like that. But I want to take you through an example. Because, it's always nice to hear about these products and go through the marketing stuff and hear about the bells and whistles, but it's a totally different thing to actually see the product. And because I can't be there in front of you guys to actually show you the server in person, I thought it would be great to, let's take a look at the front and back, and then on the next slide, we're going to turn this thing on the side, open it up, and so you can kind of see the configuration from the inside. So starting on the left-hand side, the upper portion, you've got the slot for the optical drive. these are the media bays, you know, so like if you've got one optical drive shown there, a DVD, and you got a spot for another one. You could actually even put like a internal tape drive in that second media bay slot, for example. Specifically on the 110, you've got a couple of USB ports sitting up front. You've got your LED indicators. And the location for the hard drives, in this case, there's 4 in the 110. You've got 3.5-inch hard drive bays right there up front. Flip this guy around and look at the back. Upper portion, you see your, you know, where your power supply is. You've got your serial port, your VGA port. You've got an additional 6 USB 2.0 ports. That's one of the reasons why we like the server so much, is because the expandability is so awesome. You know, if you look at it, you've got total of 8 USB 2.0 ports to work with. Your cooling fan, and then the 4 PCI slots on the picture on the right-hand side. They're there at the bottom. You've got 3 PCIe and then 1 legacy PCI slot specifically on this server. Now, let's take the server, turn it to its side, take the cover off, so you can kind of see everything inside, where everything's located. I kind of showed you the front and the back view, but now with this thing open, this is, for those of you that actually build these servers, this will be probably a little bit more interesting, so you can kind of see, you know, let's lift the hood and see what's under the hood here. I'm going to start in the upper left-hand portion. There's the power supply. You've got the system fan below that. You've got the low voltage option processors kind of in the middle of the box. At the bottom, you see the 4 PCI slots. There's actually 3 PCIe, and that bottom one, the white one, is a legacy PCI. You know, so for the PCIe, in this case, you have X4, X8, and X16 style slots. In the middle, next to the processor, is where the DIMM locations are, and so we have support for up to 4 memory DIMMs. And then as you move in the right-hand side of the picture, upper right-hand corner, I mentioned the 2 optical bays. In the picture before this, we had the DVD drive up top, and you had an open media bay below that. And then below the media bays are the location for the hard drives. So in this case, on the 110, you've got 4 3.5-inch hard drives for expandability. And in this case, in this server, if you use the 2 terabyte drive, have a total of 8 terabytes of raw data available in this entry-level server, which is a pretty good start for customers in terms of storage. Okay. Now, we've talked about the tower. Again, I think that's where a lot of your customers, you know, especially those moving up from like a workstation or desktop environment into a server, will focus. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the racks. This is, you know, these are more for the environments that have, like, you know, a rack or a small data center that's available, and, you know, where density, the size of the unit, and things like that, and the ability to put multiple rack servers into an environment become important. We have a 100 and 300 series. The 100 is kind of more like the, you know, the entry level of the rack series, and the 300 is kind of the standard. For those of you familiar with the, very familiar with the server market, the 360 and the 380, those 2 product categories across, you know, the entire, from all manufacturers, those 2 alone, I think, represent about 50% of the units shipped in the market. For example, the HP ProLiant DL380 is the #1 selling server in history. Basically, it's just because it's such a big server in the data centers, and the 360 is also a big one too because of its size. Here you have a 1U server sitting in a rack. You can rack and stack quite a few of these so you can expand out. But again, I know a lot of your customers are not looking for, you know, these huge data center racks, but you know, maybe they do have a smaller rack that they have in a smaller data center or just some room. That's where these products come into play. Usage scenarios, again, you're looking at simple business transaction type software. Again, the email, file, print, work group, and web, e-commerce, things like that. And, again, the 360 and the 380 are two that I focused on, but if you look at the 180 from the right-hand side, that product is the one that we base our NAS box, our storage server, off of. It has up to 12 hard drives. So if you're needing a rack server, for example, that, hey, we're ready to go in a rack environment, that 360 and the 160 only have 4 hard drives. I need more expandability than the 380 has to offer. The 180 is a good one to start out with, again, with the 12 hard drives. All right, now I'm going to move to both an internal and external view. We did this with a tower using the 110. In this case, I'm going to use the 1U size AR360. Let's take a look at we're going to do a front view and a kind of overhead view with the top off of the server. So you can see in this case you have up to 8 2.5-inch. You can either do SATA or SAS drives in the 360. Upper right, the picture, I'm looking at the picture on the upper left-hand corner. If you look at the upper right portion of that picture, you have the slimline media bay drive, and then you have all your LEDs and your power buttons and things like that located there. Not a lot of real estate to put a lot of features and functionality into the front of these. I mean, it's primarily taken up by the hard drives, and then you've got the little media bay that's typically for a DVD drive. Now, if we move to the picture on the right-hand side, I'll kind of start at the back portion of this on the left side. If you're facing it, the back left, you've got the 3 PCIe slots. You've got 18 memory DIMMs. So this is why the 360 is such a popular server, because it's a 1U form factor, but you can get a lot of a lot of computing power into such a small form factor. And look at the amount of memory you can stack in this thing, 18 memory. As a comparison, if we go back excuse me, to the AT110, you've got 4 memory DIMM slots. So think of the size of this tower, and then here you have this 1U box. You've got 18 memory DIMMs, so a lot of compute power in this thing. You've also got 2 processors, a redundant hot plug power supply, which is real important. So this is where you start getting into the higher availability, the redundant power supplies, things like that. So if one power supply goes out, the other one can take over and keep it going until the effective power supply is replaced. You've got the hot plug hard drives as well. So again, a lot of computing power in a small form factor.